At this point in the program, I had planned to be welcoming Dr. John Mazziata, CEO of UCLA Health and Vice Chancellor of UCLA Health Sciences, to the podium, but he wanted me to tell you that he has COVID. He's decided to stay home, so I think we all agree that's a good idea, and he sends his regrets. Instead, I'll share his remarks with you. UCLA Health is proud to play a leading role in developing a detailed understanding of the human immune system and translating those insights into life-saving immunotherapies. Because of the prevalence of immune-related disorders, the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy has the potential to reshape the future of biomedical science and medicine. In fact, Dr. Mazziata says he can think of no disorder for which treatments would not be improved by a better understanding of the immune system, and this includes aging. The new UCLA Research Park will combine bioscience research with quantum science and engineering. Our goal is to build the immunological equivalent of the Silicon Valley here in Los Angeles. With the university's expertise and state-of-the-art facilities, the CIII will attract the world's best scientists and trainees. The Institute at UCLA is an innovative public-private academic partnership unlike any other. Public, the state of California; private, philanthropists, such as those on today's panel that we're going to hear from, as well as corporations and academia, namely UCLA. The collective strengths of the state of California, the community, and the university make the Institute the ideal ecosystem for the development of cures for some of the world's most prevalent chronic and serious medical conditions. The Institute will be an engine of economic development as new scientific insights lead to new therapeutics, which spawn startup companies and intellectual property that sustain the Institute, the region, and the state, while simultaneously benefiting patients worldwide. Now, I would like to introduce the moderator of the next panel, Lindsey Williams. Lindsey is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Health Sciences Development, overseeing development teams for the UCLA Schools of Medicine, Dentistry, Public Health, and Nursing. Lindsey, it's all yours.
Welcome, and thank you so much for joining our panel today to discuss the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy, located at our new and exciting UCLA Research Park. Our topic is so important today because the CIII, which is the way I'll abbreviate our California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy, is a really unique partnership. It's a unique opportunity to grow biotech innovation here in Los Angeles. We hope you're as excited about this opportunity as our panelists are today. I'm Lindsey Williams. I'm our Assistant Vice Chancellor for UCLA Health Sciences Development, and I'll serve as our moderator. I'd like to introduce today's speakers, who are co-founders of our recently announced California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy. And we will start with Dr. Esrailian. Dr. Esrailian is the chief of the Vatche and Tamar Manoukian Division of Digestive Diseases at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA. He's a physician, an Emmy-nominated producer, a philanthropist, an investor, and an entrepreneur. Dr. Owen Witte is a professor of microbiology, immunology, and molecular genetics at UCLA. He's the director emeritus of the Eli and Edith Broad Center for Regenerative Medicine and Stem Cell Research. Dr. Arie Belldegrun is the chairman of Bellco Capital. Dr. Belldegrun is also a research professor and founder and director of the UCLA Institute for Urologic Oncology at the David Geffen School of Medicine. And Dr. Gary Michelson is the founder and co-chair of Michelson Philanthropies. He is a board-certified orthopedic spinal surgeon and a diplomat of the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. Welcome. Dr. Witte, you have a storied career in developmental immunology, including contributing to the blockbuster drug Gleevec. Why immunology? Why now? And how do you see the UCLA partnership with CIII being really uniquely processed to streamline the discovery of treatments for new patients?
I think it was in your introductory remarks and also several earlier comments, this incredible public-private partnership bringing together the strength of places like UCLA, other institutions in Southern California or across the state or the world, focused on the field of immunology, which in its breadth covers almost every human disease and can be a part of treatment for hundreds of different diseases. I mean, I was really excited to hear this morning about Amgen's approval for the first real drug targeting something specific about small cell lung cancer. It's really an amazing step forward, a disease that had absolutely no useful therapy in terms of long-term survival. So those types of opportunities, which can come from basic research, translational research, and clinical research at the universities, partnered with private entity like a large research institute nearby, a couple of miles down the road, I think it's going to be spectacular. So I'm looking forward to it because I think there's a lot more discovery to happen and a lot more advancements in medicine to occur.
And why immunology? What makes it so exciting now?
John Mazziotta's remarks said it. Every single human disease has, as a part of its pathology, something to do with inflammation, the immune response, either too much, too little, wrong timing. And so I think it unifies people from multiple medical disciplines, different areas of research, and all the technology bases into a common theme. We have one department at UCLA that has the word immunology in the title, okay? And we have probably 5,000 people working under that banner of scientific disciplines. So I think it's a good idea to bring the force together.
Dr. Michelson, you have extensively employed philanthropy as an investment in discovery science, and your passion and drive over the last 6 to 7 years has really made CIII a possibility. First of all, thank you for your passion and your vision. And can you talk a little bit about why CIII and why the UCLA partnership is really a new model for accelerating these treatments and cures?
Sure. If you think about what separates science fiction from reality, it seems to me that usually it's just the means to achieve it. And if you look back at Dick Tracy running around with his communicator on his wrist and people walking down the street talking to themselves all the time now, or the idea that we could have three-dimensional projection, that just required lasers, and now we have holograms. About 2008, I decided I would try to develop a vaccine where with a single dose, you could provide enduring birth control to a woman. Everybody told me that was impossible. Earlier this year, we had published in Nature the proof that we can do that. 11 years ago, Bill Gates and I decided we would fund something that was absolutely preposterous. We've had some success in developing vaccines against viruses and bacteria, but we decided we would develop a vaccine against a huge animal, a hookworm. So there's about 850,000 people in the world, 850 million people in the world that have hookworms. and they're a horrific parasite. They essentially consume the heme out of the blood and leave women profoundly anemic, so they die at childbirth and cause retardation in kids and all kinds of terrible things. But the idea that you could develop a vaccine against a huge animal was preposterous. Earlier this year, we had a challenge study, which you cannot do in this country, but it provided 95% absolute protection against worms. So those were two impossible vaccines that I was involved in. And now I want everybody to think about this. We today have two vaccines that prevent cancer. Now, I heard the words cure, I heard the words treat today. The only thing that beats that is preventing it. And we are literally past science fiction, and we're up to the Sherlock Holmes phase of developing vaccines against tumors in solid organs. This was preposterous 15 years ago, 10 years ago. We're going to do that right now. So as a philanthropist, I cannot think of any place to invest the money that would have the impact, the return on investment that a vaccine does. One dose and you're going to prevent the horrors of cancer. I mean, it's almost inconceivable. And the mission of the CIII is to develop those vaccines. And while I'm the first one to acknowledge the prowess of academic research and what it's provided to all of us, there's always been a reluctance of academia to embrace commercialization. That's a mistake. We need to spawn out the next Amgens and Genentechs and build out an ecosystem and have a vibrant commercialization. So we got the state of California to pledge $500 million into this institute, which they've never done before. Because of that promise, we don't do research for research's sake. We do it to help mankind. We're going to make these discoveries and we're going to convert those into immunotherapies immediately. That's our goal.
It's so exciting to be part of. And again, thank you for your dedication. Again, 6 to 7 years of developing that vision with our colleagues. Dr. Belldegrun, the Institute will leverage discoveries in immunology and immunotherapy to develop a new generation of treatments. What do you see as this novel public-private partnership doing for Southern California? And, why UCLA? Why now?
Thank you, Lindsey. Number one, to emphasize why immunology. I'm at UCLA over 3 decades. I moved from the NIH with my background in immunology, and I wasn't sure whether I came to the right place at UCLA and starting to look at a place that I can write our first project program and submit to the NIH to get some funding. We're just young assistant professors. Well, I found Steve Dubinet, who is now the dean of the medical school, Jim Economo, who is one of the professors and was the vice chancellor for research, Tony Ribas, then starting on the immunology side, then starting on the prostate side with Owen Witte. This was over 3 decades ago. Now, all of us are here. All of us continue to do work. And finally, immunology is in the center. We were a small group here that developed. So why immunology? Because that's the birth here of immunology is entrenched, and we have hundreds of people who are working here in immunology. We then, 1996, we said we need to start moving, not dissimilar to what Amgen has done. We need to start become a little bit of entrepreneurs, but here in Santa Monica, not a little bit of outside, because it's too far away to run from the hospital to every day to a center where we can use the entrepreneurship company. So we started a small group of us, professors at UCLA, with a small company called Agensis. It was called Eurogenesis, then we changed it to Agensis. And again, talking about immunology, when I think of Owen sitting there over 20 years ago and say, we discovered a gene here in Santa Monica that's called Nectin-4, and an anti-Nectin-4 antibody was created. And then he said, why won't we put it together with a toxin? So we went to Seattle Genetic and we created what today is enfortumab or Padcev, who eventually was acquired by Astellas, now acquired by Pfizer. And obviously, nobody knows. When I spoke with the CEO of Pfizer, he had no idea that actually was created here. And as you all know, last year he was the plenary session keynote speaker here. So I think that, and then obviously we continue to Cougar and continue to Kite and so on. So I think that UCLA has what it needs to work definitely in the field of immunology. Now, about the institute. we started the effort about 6 years ago. We should have started it 10 years ago, because then if the Institute would have been during COVID, I think we would have made a much more impact in the world where if the Institute would be there with the collaboration. What we need to achieve, kind of the best in the West, we model it initially after the Broad Institute in Massachusetts. But we said we will build the 21st century Broad Institute. And in order to do that, we traveled in a lot of the institutions. We learned exactly the bylaws of each of them. And it took some time to convince the UC system and the regions, but eventually, and then thanks to Gary, we got the ear of the governor and the support of the governor, who visited here at the Institute just several months ago. So I think in order to be successful here, we obviously need to build the dream team. And that's, Owen, no pressure here, but that's what we need to do, number one. Number two, it's continue the collaboration mentality that we have started 30 years ago. And we all here, we all professors, we all did very well, but we all continue with the academic world. So there's no dark side. This is the side that you have to be in both sides. You can do the two together. In addition to that, you have to be all inclusive. You mentioned California Institute. It's not a UCLA Institute. It's the California Institute of Immunology and Immunotherapy, and it should be including Caltech and USC and any other institution. And we are making a major effort to be all inclusive. Now, the private-public, you heard that. That's extremely important because the philanthropy for this institute will enable us eventually to start companies. And there is, on the site, there is dedicated sites for startups, for larger companies to come in and create an ecosystem which is not different than what's happening now in Boston. And we hope that all will generate an evergreen situation by which we invest philanthropy. Takes few years to develop the first company, but then UCLA and California will benefit from the proceeds of each of the companies, and then it will feed and generate the entrepreneurial spirit here in Los Angeles. So I would say that we need to develop the whole mentality of more startups, more funding, more VCs, like Ray said, that need to come here. So we are on our way. When I look at what happened 30 years ago, when there was nothing here, at least in Santa Monica area, we have come quite a lot, but it's just the beginning.
So true. Philanthropy and private investment are such an incredible accelerator to discovery, especially at a public university like UCLA. Dr. Esrailian, you have such an admirable history with UCLA. You've invested philanthropy in emerging fields of science and discovery. You've also helped other philanthropists and other investors to do the same. Why did you choose to get involved with the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy? And can you tell us a little bit about the new UCLA Research Park as its home and why that was so important?
Yes, absolutely. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for your attendance. This is an impressive crowd, remarkable. And I want to thank TDG for doing such an excellent job. So I also want to thank my fellow co-founders and leaders here who are all friends and mentors in many ways and really inspirational for me. And I have to say the primary reason I became involved was because of them, because of their commitment, because of their enthusiasm. But, I also have an incredible sense of gratitude for this institution, the UC system. I'm a product of the UC system and UCLA specifically. I think that we've talked about some of the other impressive biosciences communities around the country, and we all have a vision for Los Angeles to replicate that kind of situation and maybe make it even better. And there are some really amazing things about this community, and there's an opportunity for us to expand the reach of the university down towards the south, essentially to our research park, and to create a dynamic system by which we have companies, the university, academicians, entrepreneurs all working together and doing great things for society. I mean, when I hear about the origin story of some of these drugs, it's remarkable. And yes, we should have started 10 years ago, Arie, but the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is right now. So that's, for me, it's really, building on the legacy and the kind of the early days of the great scientists and entrepreneurs who started their careers at UCLA, and hopefully inspiring others to do the same. And, when I was a young faculty member here, still technically a doctor, but when I was a real doctor, I think there was a sense that there was really no reason to try to develop anything entrepreneurial because it wouldn't really go anywhere. And that's clearly not the case. And it's a testament to all of you for changing the culture in the university and building the relationships. I see all these remarkable companies and leaders here today, and they're at UCLA, and here we are in Los Angeles, with this conference. So for me, the inspiration was really to try to look at the great examples of institutions like the Broad and others, and communities like Cambridge, and say, why can't we do that in Los Angeles, and why can't we do that at UCLA, the top public university? And one of the things that's also remarkable about this campus, for those of you who have a chance just to walk around a little bit, minus the helicopters and security and everything, is the fact that you can, in a 10-minute span, you're going to cross a world-class medical school, health system, and then eventually School of Engineering and Public Health and Management, and even Arts and Architecture and Humanities, of course. And all of these disciplines come together to create the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we're all aspiring to build on. So I think for me, UCLA presents a remarkable opportunity. And again, as a public institution in the state of California, we do rely on philanthropy, which is why all of my co-founders and I feel like we need to also contribute. I heard something the other day, which was, it kind of stuck with me, is that the University of California, without the philanthropic support, would still be a good university, but it clearly wouldn't be the top public, especially UCLA, would not be the top public university in the country. So really, we depend on that relationship to augment the support that we get from the state and from tuition. And secondly, you asked about the research park. So when we first started this odyssey, we were really thinking about building something physically on the campus. And for a variety of reasons, including, COVID-19, things kind of slowed down for a while. We were just all trying to survive. And then we reinvigorated the conversations afterwards, and the opportunity to actually take over an existing facility right in the heart of the city, and to combine our vision for the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy with a quantum sciences innovation hub in partnership with engineering and physical sciences at UCLA was really, an unbelievable opportunity that we could not pass up. And I think the synergy actually helped the project to be realized, and for the state and the regions and everyone to finally say, this is a kind of once in a generation type situation. For those of you who are unfamiliar, there used to be a mall called the West Side Pavilion, which is kind of an iconic mall all the way down Westwood Boulevard and at Pico. And it's an amazing location in our city. It has a history. And for us to now create this, transformational biosciences and computer science, engineering, physical sciences community all around quantum in one place is really, kind of unbelievable. And as you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about it, but I'm a cheerleader. So I feel like the best is yet to come, as Dr. Belldegrun said.
It's an incredible facility down the street, and I think when we all did the initial walkthrough, our other co-founder for the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy, Meyer Luskin, told me to not look so excited because it would tip our hand. I'm like, too late. This is gorgeous, guys. It was really is such an incredible opportunity to acquire that on behalf of UCLA. The facility itself is quite incredible. I'd like to ask Dr. Michelson, followed by Dr. Witte, why this physical space, the UCLA Research Park and the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy, how it could really help with funding with biopharma partnerships and with both philanthropy and investments, how that could really serve as an accelerator, all of the things coming together at this time.
So let me give a shout out, first of all, to three people who are not here today. Meyer Luskin, who's a wonderful man, Michael Milken, and Sean Parker. I'm sorry they couldn't be here today. In mentioning their names, it's a bit like when 20 rock stars came together to record We Are the World. They walked out. Nobody said, I want my name on the album. Nobody said anything. And I don't recall that ever happening again. And in the world of philanthropy, it's a bit unusual to see a group of people come together and say, I just believe in this vision. I think this is going to change the world. It might be too late for me, but this is going to make a difference in my children's lives. This is going to change the world. And it's been one of the great pleasures of my life to walk into a room where I'm not the brightest guy, I'm the stupidest guy. Everybody in the group is smarter than I am. And it's just a great pleasure. It's been a pleasure to work with these people. And the other thing is, I've actually written op-eds have been published on NIH. And one of the problems has been they refuse to adapt themselves to the real world. Many, if not most, of the problems that are solvable by a single brain have been solved. Now we're looking at the problems of immense complexity. And the immune system is one of those. And to solve that problem requires what Bob was alluding to. You need big data. You need deep machine learning. You need pattern recognition. You need artificial intelligence. You need to take all these people who are siloed in those buildings Dave was just talking about and get them to come together like the Manhattan Project and work convergently on a single target, because that's what it's going to take to solve these problems. And one of the things that we are offering that no academic center has ever offered is each of the founders had some unique quality other than being able to write a check. So Arie has started one of the most successful companies. He's cured cancers that were incurable. I mean, you can't get better than that. And he's run 3 venture funds that have all been successful. In my foundations, we run 2 of the most successful incubator accelerators in the world. We don't care about making money, but we care about it uses a commercial enterprise to take people down the runway to achieve the ends that we're interested in. Eric's been immensely successful. Meyer Luskin is an incredible businessman. Mike Milken started the Prostate Cancer Foundation and Faster Cures. Sean Parker spawned out 12 successful biotechs. So we're bringing together not just a group of philanthropists who can write a check, but an immense reservoir of talent that is vital to this. And it's the intention of this institute to have an internal, self-funded incubator accelerator to play Shark Tank, if you will. We're going to have the world's leading immunologists and say, yeah, let's invest in that and start a new company. So we plan on being the nucleus for an entire ecosystem of biotech startups. And Lindsey was asking about the relationship with UCLA. Yes, it has immense talent, but what it also has is incredible physicians and one of the largest hospital systems in the world. We're not going to try to sell off these inventions on day one to somehow monetize them. We have a GMP. We're going to make our own drugs. We're going to run experimental protocols. And one of the beautiful things about LA is its diverse population. When you see these Moderna studies, I'm not trying to discredit that, where the population was 99% white people, that's not representative. LA is fantastic. So these are all the beautiful things about this institute.
Thank you so much. Owen?
It's going to be hard for me to top that because all of the key points were made. But what I see from over in the academic world is all of the things that block us from taking a new idea or an advancement that you've made in your laboratory in a small setting over the hump to get to collaborate with the right people to take it into a translational phase or eventually into the clinic could be expedited through this type of institute. It's not that you can't do these things. We've done it. Arie talked about a couple of good examples, but to facilitate it, to make it easier and to make it easier for a much larger number of academic researchers who can then convert into a useful model in the business world of making something and getting it out to patients. That's really exciting to me. And through things like the Stem Cell Center that I founded some years ago here at UCLA, philanthropy plays the most important role because the money can be used flexibly as opposed to government grants, which have a long startup time, a low success rate, and you got to keep going back to get the same grant. That doesn't lend itself to really creative thinking. But having funds available, infrastructure, and people who are receptive to new ideas and look for them and support them, that's really important. So that's what I hope this will turn into.
Can I just make a quick comment based on what Dr. Witte said? So, for those of you who are involved in academia, you know the competitiveness of applying for extramural grants from government agencies. And, as someone who funds laboratories and supports scientists, I see the need to sometimes just tread water or to pursue science that's probably fundable and much more safe by an extramural agency. And, the model that all of my colleagues here have been talking about will hopefully stimulate, the opportunity for scientists to be more innovative, to take more risks, and to kind of break out. Of course, we would love for scientists to get grants, but I think to be able to pursue novel studies that will potentially lead to treatment that potentially will be helping patients is really the dream, and that requires our private participation.
Absolutely. The California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy is a separate 501c3, but a partner to UCLA, and has an incredible opportunity to work with both philanthropists and investors in a way that broadens the traditional relationship that universities have had with philanthropists. So it's a very exciting opportunity to really see what the community can do from a partnership standpoint. Dr. Belldegrun, as we come almost to the end of our time here, can you tell us what you have, the storied career, the relationships in Los Angeles? Can you tell us a little bit about what you think this will do to the community and certainly the relationships with biopharma?
I'm trying to think of some points that were not mentioned yet, but I think at least I want to focus on two additional points that were not really clarified. One is cutting bureaucracy. Anybody at UCLA who worked over the years knows and wants to start a company knows the complexity. TDC is great. It's much better today than it used to be, and definitely the new administration, but still bureaucracy is there. Now, the Institute will hold its own IP. So technology they develop within the Institute is part of the IP. You don't have to go to upper campus, they give anywhere. That's your IP, and we can negotiate with any academic or non-academic center or company to start anything that can become an entrepreneurial company. So anything that is done in collaboration with UCLA or done in collaboration with other institutions will be a shared IP. So the idea is, number one, to cut as much the bureaucracy as we can. And number two is to have an address. There will be an office that will have any new young postdoc or assistant professor that wants to start a company. We will help him with with funding, with ideas, with development, with contacts. So it's a one-stop shop. Finally, it's the education. Educating the next generation of entrepreneurs is very important. I'm very proud to hold the UCLA chair, the Roy Dumaney chair in urologic oncology. But Roy Dumaney started a program here. The late Roy Dumaney started a program here, the business of science. That is something that we need to take to a completely different level, and we hope that that will kind of stimulate the next generation to come with ideas. I have seen how, and interacting with the Broad and the Koch Institute, the postdocs who are coming there to the after PhD or during PhD or with an MD PhD already think what they want to develop and what company they want to develop. And during the PhD program, they are already had in mind what they do after. And it's not unusual for these guys finishing and immediately become entrepreneurs. That takes time, that takes development, and I hope that our institute will stimulate all of that.
Absolutely. With our last few minutes, we'll kind of work our way this way, starting with Dr. Michelson. Any closing thoughts, final thoughts about our audience members who are either researchers or inventors or investors? Any final thoughts for how partnership, how you see partnership, the openness to partnership with CIII and our audience, and what you think is next for that partnership?
Okay. So right now we are in the phase where we are raising funds, and philanthropy is one source of that. I really would like to find some business partners. It just strikes me that the last naming rights for football stadiums have gone for between $700 million and $1 billion, and all they're renting is putting their name on there at $25 to $30 million a year. I was mentioning this last evening to somebody. Takeda paid the University of Washington $30 million for nothing more than the right to walk down the hallways. But if you think about that, that's even better than a right of first refusal on technology that's being developed, because there is no first offer. You are it. And you're right there when they're doing this work, and that's getting in as early as you can possibly get on the next world-changing discovery. And so what I'm really looking to do is find a commercial partner who says, there should be something before California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy. It should say like Amgen or something, And, anyway, and then in return, they're going to get a lot more than the people who put their names on the football stadium, because they're actually going to get something of value. They're going to get probably what would be the most potent research institute in the world for immunology and immunotherapy. And I say that because there is no place in the world today that has under one roof 500 research scientists in immunology, a next generation artificial intelligence center, a center for engineering, and quantum computing. And I have many friends who've been telling me that quantum computing is science fiction. Wrong. It's 3 years out from hitting. And I personally think that's going to be like throwing a bucket of gasoline on AI. So it's an incredible opportunity. And so that's my last words. I'm looking for a commercial partner.
Okay, Dr. Witte.
I like the idea of the Amgen as opposed to crypto.com.
This wasn't a setup.
Okay.
This was a setup, a perfect setup.
This issue of getting collaborative teams together, in a physical space and maybe even in a mental space is the most important thing about the collaborations. All of these integrated technologies, the new frontier in AI and quantum computing right next to each other, to me is really exciting. I've been at UCLA for 45 years, and I always found that I could find an expert in the thing I need to know about just by walking across campus to engineering, math, wherever it was. And that trend should be concentrated in a place like CIII. I think it's going to happen, and I think it's exciting.
Wonderful. Dr. Esrailian?
Well, first of all, I want to say Dr. Michelson is incredibly smart, so I don't want him to sell himself short. But I want to echo what he said in terms of, besides just kind of the name in front of the California, we are looking also for partners for our research park and for our California Institute. I've had so many friends who are from the venture capital world or biosciences world asking if they could potentially get some space. And that's exciting to me. And that's something that we all want to discuss is, for companies and for organizations who want to set up a beachhead here on the West Coast, or specifically in the center of Los Angeles. I don't think there's going to be an opportunity like this because it would be very difficult to build this from scratch. And I think it's an amazing kind of opportunity for the right partners who want to be in the ecosystem surrounded by bright scientists. And as Arie and Gary mentioned, we're right in the vicinity of other fantastic universities like USC and Caltech, just to name two. And so there's an opportunity for us to have partners who want to establish a presence and interact with all these great scientists and entrepreneurs. So that's really what I'd be looking for as well.
Dr. Belldegrun, final words.
A dream come true day will be when it's the first day of the opening of the Institute. But I think the Institute as itself is not enough. You need to create an ecosystem around it with several startups that will join the area. And we have space for that. Big pharma to come in and take some space, and we will have enough space for that. Anybody who will visit the 500,000 or so square feet of space, which is an amazing new space, and we are very lucky to get, will understand that this is creation of a unique ecosystem that will grow and develop, plus everything that the academic world here in Los Angeles can offer. So that's the dream come true will be the first day.
Well, I'd like to thank our panelists. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelson, Dr. Witte, Dr. Esrailian, and Dr. Belldegrun for their insights today. This is a very exciting time for UCLA and its partnership with the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy. This launch, along with the acquisition of the UCLA Research Park, is one of the most innovative moments in the university's history. And we're so thrilled to have you all as interested and future partners. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you.